Hi, I'm Mark. I'm the Kitchen Pro. Today I'm getting ready to start the painting process of painting the kitchen cabinets. I've started masking. I got all the masking done, masked off the floors, vacuumed everything, wiped down. It's pretty much a dust-free zone now. I've spackled all the nail holes. I'm going to wait and do the caulking around the moldings between the two primer coats. I usually do two primer coats, and I sand between each coat, and then I do two finish coats and I sand between those two. So there's a lot of sanding with 180 grit. Usually I have a little sanding block. So I have the primer. I have my HVLP spray rig. I'm going to use the spray. So I've masked off everything down below that doesn't want to get painted in the floor again. The upper cabinet, that's going to get painted inside, so that's all ready to go. So I just wanted to show you. I also have an exhaust fan. This is one of the things I've done is I have a really high-speed exhaust fan that open a door at one end of the room and have a fan at the other end of the room. That really blows all the dust and the overspray. Usually when the paint hits the air, before it goes too far, it actually dries in the air and comes down as like a layer dust. So that helps suck all that out of here. Also too, you can't see it, but on this side there's a plastic wall I've erected between the living quarters and this work area. So with this fan, this actually, it draws the air, so even if there's a leak around the plastic wall, it sucks the air from the living quarters into here, which sucks and blows all the dust and the dirt and the overspray outside. So it's really been a real effective way of keeping everything clean and not letting it get into the living area. So I think I'm pretty much ready. I'll start spraying and we'll see how we go. Okay, I've got the cabinet, got the primer coat on, 2 coats of primer coat. I've got the nails holes filled. Between the 2 coats, I did the caulking and sanded thoroughly. I mean, like everything, all the corners, all the nicks and crannies and the whole bit. So it's thoroughly sanded between the 2 coats. After now that I've had the second primer coat on, I'm going to do a light sanding. And if there's anything I've missed as far as touch-ups or little nail holes, then this is the final go through. Then I'll start on the final coat, one of the 2 final coats. So I'm right at that point now. It's starting to look really good. So back at it with the final coat now. Okay, so I'm back. I got the first finish coat on. Couple things to note is, once again, between the first 2 primer coats, I sanded, and the first sanding, once again I use a sanding block for most of it. The first sanding, I use like a 150 grit sanding block for sanding between the 2 coats, the 2 primer coats. And then I go back and double check all the filling, do the caulking. Again, between every coat I go back and check it and go back over the corners and add a little more caulking and filling whatever I see imperfections. So a couple things. I always start at the top when I start painting and work my way down, because if you paint the bottom first, if you lean up against it, it's kind of a mess. So it's always best to start at the top, do all the upper cabinets first, then I come down and do the lower cabinets after that. Another thing too is when I'm painting, especially things like this panel up here, which are going to be like all the doors throughout this kitchen. The panel is basically a square edge panel, but then it has this bead down the center or down the edge here on each side of it. So it's hard to get into that little groove there if you're not careful. You could, if you spray from the side, you'll leave like a shadow when you spray in there. So you really have to spray directly into that little groove. So my technique that, and usually I try and go through these things after I've kind of done enough work to where I expound on some of the techniques that I've found. So with something like this, what I do is what? Well, yeah, okay. That looks better? Okay, so what? Well, I'm not going to turn it on. Okay, well, so to do a real live, I don't have the sprayer on, and it'll be noisy, but to simulate, what I'll do is I'll mimic the noise. So as I'm spraying, so as I spray down here, oh, sorry, I get into the groove, and then the second pass coming down, I come at an angle, and so that gets it into the groove and then across the face. So it's little things like that is kind of the fine techniques. And then as I'm painting even this molding here and the crown mold on top, I'll do multiple passes at different angles. So like I'll do a pass here and that kind of gets into the one groove, then I'll do an angled pass and that'll kind of get this flat, and then I'll do another pass straight on and that'll get this flat area. So, you know, it's just a matter of really, of kind of thinking thoroughly as you go along and really trying to see how the paint gets into there. Once again, I'm going to do one more coat. I let it dry. I'm going to, between the last two coats, I'm going to really fast do a quick sanding. The last sanding doesn't make any dust at all. Between the first coat of this primer and the second coat, that's really the heavy sanding. After I sand everything between the two primer coats, then I go back and vacuum everything up because there's a lot of dust. After the second primer coat, I do sanding, and there still is some more dust created from that, so I do vacuum. I like vacuum the floors, vacuum all the faces, vacuum like here and in the grooves, and really try and keep everything super clean. That helps a lot. You know, painting really is mostly preparation. So, you know, to do a quality job, preparation, and you never want to do things like paint things and say, well, I'll get to that later. You want to try and get all the preparation done, and it seems like you're going to go for hours until you're ready to paint. But when you are ready to paint finally, and you paint it, then it really comes out nice. So once again, I'm going to go back over it with the 180. Hardly any, virtually no dust between the last two coats. So I could hit it with a sandpaper real fast, then I could go back and do my final coat. And this is looking really good, so the final coat's going to be just dynamite.